Hey folks, welcome back to the next episode of The Main Scoop. I'm Greg Lotko, joined by my co-host Dan Newman. Hey, welcome back.
Yeah, Greg, it's good to be here.
Absolutely.
I'm always in the mood to scoop with my good friend, Greg Lotko. How's it going?
Today, we're going to be talking about application testing and development. I mean, the reality is everyone wants to go off and write code. They want to create capability. They want to deploy it out there, but we all want to make sure that that works right and that it doesn't interfere with stuff that's already out there or go fluey. Well, it's a technical term.
Yeah, you want to make sure that when things get updated and changed, that nothing breaks. And there is a lot to it, and across the entire tech landscape, the integrity of QA and of making sure that software is properly tested, that app developers are innovating intelligently and safely. It's not negligible. It's pretty darn important.
And you want some consistency to that, right? You don't want a free-for-all in your development teams. But I mean, we could go on and on about this.
We could talk about it.
Well, let's bring in our guest. With us today is Bertrand Cardinal from Desjardins.
Yeah.
Tell us about yourself, what you do, and then jump right in here. Talk about the subject.
So I'm working on the biggest credit union in Canada, which is Desjardins. Some people are saying banking, but it's close. But
lots of money either way.
Yeah, both. Yeah, lots of money. But it's the biggest credit union in Canada. I'm responsible of the banking solution because, of course, Desjardins is just not doing just banking, but insurance and a lot of topic. But I'm especially responsible for modernization of the banking solution that reside on the ZOS.
Very cool. All right. So what do you think about when you think about application development and testing this stuff? Do you just kind of hack away and throw it over the transom?
Well, no, for sure, no.
Good.
That's the first good answer. Of course, you can test any new development with unit tests, but there's more just than the quality of the product that you need to deliver. Unit tests can be useful for documentation, especially for senior that's retiring. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people leaving Desjardins because of their age, been 20, 30 years that they're working with us. So of course, when there's a really complex module, we want to document those modules, and unit test is a way to document. That's first thing for sure. Second thing, of course, unit tests can trap bug before going to prod for sure, especially automated tests. But also if you can trap it earlier, it's gonna cost less.
And I think that's the thing we more often hear people talk about. We think about quality, we think about improving it, we wanna catch defects earlier in the process. But the other stuff was really interesting and on top of it, right? The idea that you're documenting what's going on in these applications or in these programs, preparing or thinking about that, whether it be because of retirement or somebody moves on or they're on vacation, that the initial developer might not be the person who has to do an enhancement or, God forbid, resolve an issue.
Agree, and especially there's since we have a legacy of old development that is not really well documented, so there's a lot of reverse engineering that you need to do.
Not any of the code I wrote.
No, for sure. I'm pretty sure it's really well documented, but let's say, seriously, it's code from the 70s, 80s, and 90s that we need to do reverse engineering to make sure we understand business rules and everything.
We don't want to add to that problem, right? So the reality is, the age of the code doesn't matter. If it's effective, it's efficient, if it's still doing what you wanted it to do, but the problem is when you look at that code and you're like, I don't remember exactly why this is doing this, and there's nothing outlining it. And we certainly, going forward, we don't want to create new code that's undocumented, but we want to go back and look at the other stuff.
And for the junior, it's it's useful, but it's always make sure that he's doing the right thing, Mm-hmm. So it's a kind of a filet to make sure that he doesn't do any additional bug that we covered with those unit tests prior to his changes.
Très bien.
So how are you thinking about sort of the process of empowering, developer teams? Like what in the work that you're doing for Desjardins and also just more broadly across the industry, like how are you thinking about a developer-centric approach?
Yeah, and we need to discuss for Desjardins. I don't want to talk, but there
well,
were
broadly,
a lot,
but maybe a little bit.
Yeah, well, a lot of investment was done on the distributed side. A lot of the new stuff, the code coverage, the unit testing, everything. So there was a lot of effort trying to with the new tools on the distributed side. But of course, there was less, let's say, investment done on the mainframe side. But for the, let's say, 4 or 5 years, we changed that, and we try to not mimic, but try to get closer to what the distributed side is doing.
Give the developer a common experience.
Common
across
experience,
platforms.
exactly. A common UI, common unit test, and coverage and unit coverage and everything like that.
So leverage the power and the strength of the platform, but make the interaction, consistent.
Yeah, of course, it's a goal. We're not there yet, but one step at a time.
Getting closer every day.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how much are you seeing things being sped up and automated? I mean, one of the things I know that we're super focused on societally, this can be on the mainframe, off the mainframe, right? You have the power of AI, of course, is very centralized. But I mean, I do think that, there's a lot of discussion right now, right? Whether it's the actual process of testing, you're going to see some automation done there. Whether it's the actual code creation, there's going to be some automation there. But of course, you want to be developer-centric, which means you want to do this with the developers, not in contrast to. You're not replacing and displacing, you're augmenting and adding. How much are you seeing the role of automation increase, or what part is it playing, and how are they doing it in a way that developers feel good about it as an augmentation of their capabilities?
Especially on the mainframe side for us, we're at the beginning for sure. So every small step that we're going forward on automating tests, adding or make sure that new code has that unit test integrated at the same time, but definitely we need to empower that way to make sure that we have a full set of unit tests to make sure that we have a nice, say filet.
Nice combination, correlation.
Combination or safety. It's a safety. Unit test is make sure that it's a safe net that will make sure that before going to prod. But
then you keep it together with the code going forward,
of course.
Right? So that as you do enhancements, as you do changes, you can have the confidence that you haven't changed anything you didn't intend to.
Yeah, and especially, unit test, what's the main goal of that is trapping the bug as soon as it is written, and not once it's in the production, the cost is really triple or quadruple as each step the code is moving forward close to the prod. Of course, it's going to cost more to correct it. So as soon as we trap it, of course, it's really easier to correct it and make sure we have
I've got an
quality.
invention idea. Maybe we need to develop a productivity tool so that as the programmer is about to write that defect, it just zaps their fingers and they can't type the bug.
Well,
might be hard to develop though. Somebody would have to code that. Huh.
We need locks your fingers on the keyboard, doesn't let you remove them. Well, you need that negative reinforcement sometimes, zap, zap. Well, another thing though that you would think, Bertrand, for developer-centric, is it's also going to be very much about bringing the next generation of developers along. We've spent some time over the years talking about new skills. We talk about training. People can go out. We'll link you back to those episodes. But we also talk about, enticing people into the space, having developer-centric platforms that, encourage. It seems like that's something that would be pretty important in any developer approach.
And cross-platform, no matter what. So developer that has the knowledge of the skills and knowledge of the developer, but cross-platform,
Right.
So he can do the end-to-end of what's requested by the business side for sure.
Whether that be searching for an issue when it happens or making an enhancement, somebody who can use common tools and doesn't have to be as aware of what platform they're actually implementing on it. And then when they make the change, they can kick off the automated test and get through unit tests.
Prior to deliver something. For
Yeah,
sure.
it makes your developers way more portable versus platform specific.
Yep.
It seems like the goal of reducing manual tasks, of increasing automation, of making it more cross-platform friendly, of, it just seems like these are kind of the steps. And by the way, I don't know about you, because obviously I know that I'm kind of the all of tech guy sometimes, and when we play our parts, when we sit in our parts and you play I'm the mainframer guy. I'm joking. But, this doesn't sound that different than any other developer.
It's not, and I haven't been mainframe my whole life. It's what I'm known for
It's
now.
just your part.
But yes, I mean there's commonality
I'm a
of
Sundance
what
kid.
every developer does, regardless of the platform. There's a process, and I don't mean not agile. I mean agile is a way of development, but there's a process of what we go through, the creativity, but wanting to, of course, assure that we're not introducing change that's unintended, right? And you want that to be a consistent experience.
Yeah, the reflex, the thinking,
Yeah.
everything's the same between cross-platforms.
Absolutely,
So for sure.
absolutely.
Yeah.
What about like bringing developers in that were developers outside of the mainframe though? Does this kind of, do these kinds of
Absolutely.
tools, does this advance the capabilities? Because obviously,
Of course.
I don't know how much compatibility there is. I don't know if you can speak
We're
to
starting. We're starting same IDE. There's a couple of IDE on the market, but we try to concentrate cross-platform, the same IDE. We have a coverage, security coverage for sure. Cucumber, but not saying SonarQube. So all those kind of tools are really the same between cross-platform, and that's our goal now.
So the reality is it's here, it's evolving. The idea that you can take a developer that doesn't have to know the specifics of the platform, but can leverage the characteristics or seek out the qualities of the platform that they want it to be on, but use the same types of tools that they interact with on other platforms. And then that's just one aspect of opening up the platform, opening it up to a broader set of developers. But then of course, obviously, if you think about the workloads, no workload sits in isolation. So of course you would want to have a developer that understands how it flows through.
That's really interesting. You would think there'd be a lot of innovation that would come from the diversity, that you get
Always.
Yep.
developer types that come from developing on other platforms outside of the mainframe. Bring them in, they bring new ideas, they bring curiosity, and of course the experience of the mainframe developers can give them the education and capabilities.
Yep. And same thing, we talk about developer, but AQ is also QA analysis. They have to use the same kind of tool because we don't know where do we need them. So do we need it on the distributed side, do we need it on mainframe, or the whole solution? So that's why we don't need to not forget them also. There's developer, there's AQ, there's analysis, there's a bunch of role that needs to be, let's say, cross-platform regardless.
So what do you think are some of the most important characteristics to make sure that in the end that these application development platforms and the developer ecosystem that we have today, Bertrand, what do you think are some of the most important characteristics and capabilities, and what are you personally doing to ensure this in your work to have success as we move forward, to speed things up, to drive more automation, to bring more talent to the space? Are there some specific guidelines that you can offer?
Yeah, we try to accomplish. So first, make sure the knowledge is still there. For sure, we really have an issue for that because a lot of people is going to retirement. After that, quality first for sure, no matter what, and speed of development for sure. So that's the main three topic. So speed, quality, and of course documentation to make sure that we're not losing those kind of knowledge.
You also want the characteristic of consistency, right? So when you're looking across your development teams and want to be able to inspect, are we following good practices? If you have teams using a similar process across platforms, it makes it easier for you, right?
For sure. Yeah. And it's the language, not language of programming, but the link between manager that manage distributed team, versus manager that that's managing some mainframe team, let's say. So, often the dialogue is not really fluid. And when you have the same kind of process now, it's easier to grow and make sure that we go to the right path.
Yeah, you know, it's a really important topic. I think sometimes, Greg, that it's easy to take for granted. The importance of, you know, good QA management, of having, you know, the right cross-platform and the right set of developers that have, you know, time to value realized. And something I think he sort of brought up, that Bertrand brought up, was also strong collaboration that exists between business and developer. Because remember, in the end, I mean, that's why we're doing it, is we're developing usually an application.
It's not code for code's sake. It's to perform a business function.
Yeah, a business requirement for sure.
Right.
So, yep. So, if we have a unique language in IT, of course, business will understand more instead of knowing a bunch of different technology. If they understand the common of each platform, it will be easier to deal with them for sure.
Well, you know, I think this is one of those topics that, as we sort of try to wrap this up and conclude it, Greg, it's you know, we have to have the cross-platform. We need to be bringing new developers into the fold that can, you know, that can connect to the mainframe space, that can also bring a lot of innovation and new ideas. I like a lot what he talked about, like you said, when he talked about QA, he talked about, you know, making sure the applications are running and performant, and of course, you know, bringing together, you know, the type of environment that people can really focus on building the most important apps to run the business, run their business, whatever
And paired with that, it's consistency of processes and making sure that you're documenting or capturing the capability of things as you're developing them, that you're testing it and documenting and keeping it together going forward. So a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, there is a lot of goodness in there, and you keep mentioning the documenting, and I keep forgetting to say it, but yeah, he definitely reiterated that one,
Absolutely,
didn't he?
absolutely.
All right, Bertrand, well, we want to thank you so much for joining us here on The Main Scoop, telling us a little bit about what you're doing at Desjardins, and of course, talking a little bit about overall how, you know, app-centric development can really help and can drive forward business and can encourage a community of developers and can encourage innovation.
All right, thanks for having me.
Well, Greg, that was a good one. So I'm going to go ahead and take us on out of here. Everyone, hit that subscribe button. Join us for all of our episodes of The Main Scoop. We appreciate you being part of our community, but for this show, it's time to say goodbye.
Thanks for joining us.
I knew you'd do that. See you later.
Bye-bye.